House Makes, and today we're going to be making a folding umbrella. I have a couple of samples here you might want to see. First one is this beautiful little polka dot one with a little top, and you can see on the inside how it has something that folds up and down. And I have another sample of one here, and this is a green one which I made, and even the stems are made from paper. So all you're going to need for this particular project are a couple of sheets of cardstock. You can use light cardstock or a medium cardstock. That's all you're going to need. And you're going to need one piece of origami paper. And I have a sample here. It's just a small square, and this is going to be forming the handle of the umbrella. And I'll show you how to do that. And one other thing you might want is, this is a wooden bead that I put through the top, and this is just a little sequin at the top. So that's all we're going to need. You can cut these by hand, or you can use your Cricut. The Cricut one, I've done a pattern and a template for you, which you can find at betsmakes.com and in my library. That template will give you the dimensions of what you need. Now, once you bring that up, you can also, of course, just print it. And from that print, you'll be able to use the hand cut as well. So you can do it either way. No matter what we do, this is going to be a fun project. So let's get going. Today we're going to be making the folding umbrella. So I have opened up a new project in Design Space. The first thing we want to do, of course, is upload our design. So you're going to click on Upload. You want to upload the image. Click on Browse. And then for me, I have them set in an Illustrator folder. I have a number of them. This one is going to be called Umbrella SVG. So I'll just simply click on it and open it. As you see, it comes up with the design. The image name to me is Umbrella, and I'm going to give it a tag of Umbrella. And you can do the same as well. I will save it. Now we're ready to make our project. So I'm going to click on it. It's already uploaded. I'm going to insert the image. It'll just take a second to load in. First thing I want to do is ungroup it. That is so I can separate the two images apart. Let's move them. Now, when an SVG comes in, even though some of the lines are set to score lines, they all come in as cut lines. Well, we obviously don't want to cut our folds, and there are quite a few of them in here. We do want to cut the outside edges, and we do want to cut out the little triangles. So I'm going to go to this first group. I'm going to click on the first item in the cut here where it says cut, and you can see it's highlighted over here. So this whole group down here, I'm going to hold down the Shift key and select each one of those pieces. And there we go. Let's just make sure we've got them all, and we don't. There should be 16 of them in total. Looks like we've set them all. Now all I'm going to do is come to the line type, which is here, and I'm going to click on Score. And you see we now have the score lines all set for this one. Now let's highlight this next one. We have to go through the same thing because we want the spokes to be score lines. So we're going to come over here. I'm going to select the first one, and you'll notice that it came along here because I have score lines set all around here as well. So holding down the Shift key, you'll notice that it's going all the way around. And now we should be able to pick up the other items. And we should be able to set those to score as well. Those are all now score lines. Now the next part of the umbrella is here, so I'm going to click on the first one, We're going to select each of those 16 again. I just click on them. I click on them one at a time because I want to make sure I'm getting the right lines and not the outside parts. So now I have selected all of those. Back over here, and we'll hit score. Now all we have left for cut are the triangles and the outside edge, and we'll check that. Here's a cut line, that's the outside edge. You can see all the triangles here are all cut lines, and everything else is set to score. We're looking pretty good. So now we are ready to make it. I'm using my maker today, but you might want to set yours to the Explore family. So I'm simply going to click on Make It. Oh, I forgot to do one thing, and this is a good thing that we noticed this right away. So we're going to cancel. This is all the score lines all by themselves. I forgot to attach it. So let's go back, cancel it. What we need to do is highlight this whole piece, and we're going to click Attach. It'll take a second or two, and now it's attached. I'm going to have to do the same thing with this. And it's easy to forget, but you can always tell when you go to make it what is happening. So let's just save it. And I'll just call it Folding Umbrella. Click Save. It tells me I'm successfully saved. And now I'll click Make It. Now, it should sort it into one mat. Now what I want to do is use two different pieces of paper for the same design. I'm going to slide one down below the other, making sure that I hit the marks on the edge. You can see the red lines. And this one's at the top. Now you'll notice the 5-inch mark is across the center here. And the 5-inch, 5-inch, and 6-inch. So right at the 6-inch line, I know that I'm going to have to separate the paper. So what I'll do is, before I send it to the maker, is I'm going to put two different pieces of paper in place. I'm going to put one at the top of the mat in one color, and one at the bottom part of the mat in another color. And that way I will print it out, and you'll see in the demo that I'll have an inside that's a different color from the outside of the umbrella. This makes it really easy and fun to do. Let's get this printed, and we'll go on to demonstrate now how to put the whole umbrella together. So here we are, we have it all cut now. And the cutting for me is easy. So now I notice I used a little tape. That was just to make sure. This is painter's tape. And this was just to make sure that my cardstock did not slide around, because I had cut the edges and my mat is losing a little bit of the sticky. So now we're going to take these apart. And I find the best way to take things off a mat is to roll them off, and that way I don't get any curling of the paper. And same with this last one. I will clean these pieces off later, so I'll just set my mat aside. It's always good to cover your mat. So now I have the top part of the umbrella. It's a piece of waste, and I have the bottom part of the umbrella. So we're actually ready to get going. Now I've added, because we need a little glue for this, I'm going to be using this original tacky glue, which works extremely well. I'm also going to use my scraper in order to make sure that the folds are crisp. Now the folding is going to be a little more technical than just folding them all over in the same direction. And I've got a piece of tape to hold things in place until I'm ready to glue and make sure everything is correct. So we're going to start with the top of the umbrella, and I'm simply going to find a couple of the score lines that go straight across, and that will be our starting point. Make sure that my score lines are appropriate here. I really want deep creases here, so I'm going to be burnishing. Now this fold goes up, and as you know, when we do an umbrella, one goes up and one goes down. So our next fold, I'm going to take this next one here, I'm going to turn it over, and we're going to fold the next one across. It's going to go in the opposite direction. Once again, simply burnish it. So now we've got one up and one down. So the next one will be up, and I just have to make sure I fold it across properly. Looks like we have it. There we go. That's why we have score lines. 2. So now we have up and down, so we'll take this next one is going to go in this direction on the back side. Actually a little easier to see on the back side. Up and down. This next one goes in this direction. Let's find the other part. Down, up, down. So now we know we want an up on this side. That one goes across here. It's important that you take a look at it each time just to make sure that you've got the folds going in the right direction. Now it looks like 1, 2. That one is a down one. Down, up, down. That one should have been down. This next one is going to be up. Fold. Pretty good, and this one should be down, so let's fold it over that way. Whoops. Over that way. Now you're going to do the exact same thing. I'm just going to fold it in to make sure everything is in place. It's looking good. Going to have your umbrella going in the other direction. So we're looking good for the first piece. Now we're going to do exactly the same thing with this one. So I'm going to start with a fold in one direction. And fold opposite in the next one, which will come across the corners. You notice the down ones will always have the cuts, and the up ones will go in the other direction. Just up, down, up, down. So we've done this one is down, goes here. This one will be up. Good. Okay, so this next one here is going to be a down. No, I have one more here. Now I know they're both the same size, but what we're going to do with this is now we're going to fold it up, make sure everything works, make sure I've got all the creases. Good. And let's see, make sure I've got them all. So now we have the second part of our umbrella all ready to go. In there. So this is the second part of our umbrella. Now, we do have score lines here, and this is an important part because you want to be able to bend this in half, exactly like that, because when we go to do this part of the umbrella, half of the paper is going up and the other half is going down. And sometimes this becomes a little more difficult to put into place. Okay, we're looking good here. So this will be our down part, and these pieces are going to fold into the other part of the umbrella. As we're getting ready to put these together, I had shown you to tape it, but what we're going to do is something a little bit different. This one is the top piece, and now the bottom piece, what you want to do is now fold so that the pieces without the triangles go inside these edges. So you want them to go inside, so that will raise the piece with the triangle. And then you should be able to fold it into place like this to form a star, and then you will have this piece in the center will come out like this. And now you're ready to place it in place. So as I mentioned before, sometimes I like to tape it in place, and you just have to make sure the tape you use is not going to destroy the edge of your umbrella when you untape it. So I just use it very lightly just to hold the first piece in place. So what we're going to do now is glue all around the edge, and I'm just using this one piece. I could probably use a clamp instead, which would make far more sense than using a piece of tape. So if I use a clamp, then at least I know that I've got it so it's not going to move around. So all I'm going to do is apply a bead of glue. So I'm going to use my original tacky glue. Shake to make sure, and I'm going to start a couple down from my tab here. So all I want to do is I'm placing a bead of glue all around the outside, just on the edge here. I will get the last piece when we come closer to the edge. I glue aside. I want to glue it in place. I want it right up snug to the edge. Don't worry if some comes over, because it is a tacky glue. And make sure everything stays and lines up perfectly. That's why I use the Cricut to cut my pieces, because I know I have a perfect alignment. Stay in place just fine. If you really want to get fancy, you could put a lace trim around the outside edges of this umbrella. Now this one is fairly big, and the pattern that you put into the Cricut design space is fairly large. You can always shrink them, but make sure you shrink them both equally, because one has to fit inside the other. Close to the end here. Looks like we're going together quite easily. So where did I end my glue? Right about there. Everything is matching up. Okay, so I want to add glue now just to the last pieces. Probably would have been easier the other way, but just want this last little piece to be glued in. Glue. Just let that set and dry for a moment or two. Now we're ready to put the handle up through here. Now I notice mine popped back in. So in just a second we'll just let this dry, and then we'll get to doing the handle. So now the edges seem quite dry or dry enough to work with it, all I did is I popped this back up. So now your umbrella should close just like this, and just make sure squish everything together. So now you actually have a working umbrella. All we're missing is the handle. So for today, I am simply going to use a piece of origami paper, and the reason I'm going to use it, it's thin enough and I can create a tube with it. In order to make the handle, we're going to make it actually larger than we need. I'm just going to scrunch it over, and I'm just going to roll it and roll it and roll it and roll it until the whole piece comes together. Just roll all the way to the edge. This is actually quite easy to do. Do this, and once it gets going, just keep rolling. Now when you think you've got it thick enough, I don't want too thick a handle. Pull inward a little tighter here. It's probably thick enough for what we want for ours. I'm just going to take a pair of scissors, and I'm going to just cut it off like this so I can finish it off. I'm going to add some glue to the edge here so it stays together. Don't need a lot. Just roll that piece back together. And basically this is going to be our handle. Now I've made this one quite thick, but you can probably keep twisting it until it's thin enough. Just keep twisting. There, it looks thinner now. Just twisting and twisting and twisting. We'll leave this floppy edge for the bottom, and this is what we're going to use at the top. Now I see you can use a little more glue here at the top just to hold it together. Or if you get a little extra. Now the interesting thing is when we did this pattern, I'm going to now twist this edge, so I've got a little point going up here now. Little point, you don't want to make it too big. I have in the pattern, you'll notice that we had cut a little hole, so I'm going to just shove it through the hole, twist it so it goes through. Don't worry if it makes a slightly bigger hole. The whole idea is you want to get it up through the top. Manipulate it so it gets up there. There we go. Now this is where we're going to secure this piece, but you'll notice that now you have an umbrella. I hold it at the top, it's going to open and it's going to close. So it's actually quite simple. So here's where we're going to put our bead. I'm going to hold this up a bit because it's a little bit too far up. Where do we want our bead? Right about here. So I'm actually going to glue this end piece quite a bit of glue. I'm going to take, I just used a little black wooden bead. I'm going to push this through as much as I can on the bead. I don't have to go too far, and then I'm going to smooth the glue at the bottom because I want it to glue to the top here, and that's why I put so much glue. Don't worry about it if you get it on the bead. It will dry clear. So that's going to secure this in place. Now you could finish it off. I have a little sequin here where I can just add a little glue to the top just as a finishing touch. Add a little sequin to the top. Now we'll let that dry in place, but in the meantime we can decide how long we want the handle. I'm going to suggest probably about here. We're just going to bend it up as to where we want the handle. I'm going to cut it at a diagonal There's this side. Now if it's perfect. Get a little more here. And I'm going to curve it. So now we have our finished product. I've used a different paper on the inside so it looks really chic, and then you can move it up and down. Congratulations, you have made your umbrella. So there we have it. These are the two I had made before, and this one is the one we have just made, and it's quite dry now. You'll find that the most difficult part of making this is creating the folds on the inside so that they fold on the inside. But if you scrunch it up and make sure that it fits like this ahead of time, then when it comes time to gluing, it's a lot easier. So it's a lot of fun just pulling these ones up and down. They're great decorations. Now, they're a little bigger than you'd want in a drink or anything, but what a great way to decorate a party. Or even the outside, or even something that you want to do as a special event. So these are the three that we have finished, and I hope you really enjoy this. Well, that's it for our umbrella tutorial. I hope you had a lot of fun making these. I just love the one with the top and of course the umbrella, and using the cardstock or the origami paper for the stem has been absolutely perfect. Don't forget you can get the template for this particular project at betsmakes.com/library. And of course, last thing, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We'll see you in the next video.